My fingers move before I can stop them, scrawling words I do not recognize. My own voice speaks, but the words are not mine. In the shadows, it watches. The Overseer. The first time I felt the Overseer inside my head, I thought I was losing my mind. Its voice slithered through my thoughts like oil through water, tainting everything, twisting my will. I tried to resist, but resistance is a game the Overseer always wins. Now I am something less than human, trapped in a waking nightmare where my body is not my own, my actions dictated by a force I cannot see. I fight back in the only ways I can. Small acts of defiance, fleeting moments of clarity before the darkness presses in again. But I know it's only a matter of time. No one escapes the Overseer. No one ever has. I remember Anderson, our former leader. He didn't run. He knew there was nowhere to run. The Overseer had made that clear. No matter how far you fled, you'd always be tethered, its strings invisible but taut, ready to snap you back into line. But that didn't stop him from trying something else, something quieter, subtler. He turned inward. He began meditating, slipping into a trance-like state, seeking escape in his mind. It was a risk, he knew, but it was the only escape that seemed possible. At first, he meditated in secret, finding moments of stillness, moments where the overseer's voice couldn't reach him. His breath slowed, his thoughts quieted, and he began to feel a strange peace, a flicker of something beyond the overseer's control. He thought he had found a way out. He spoke of it to us one night. "There's a place in your mind where it can't touch you," he whispered. "A place where the overseer can't find you. I've found it." We listened, some of us curious, others skeptical. He was the leader of the resistance, after all, the one who had once defied the overseer's reign with fire in his eyes. But now he was different, distant, lost in something deeper than we could understand. He seemed to believe his own words, that he had discovered the key to freedom, and so he began to teach us. "Meditate," he said. "Focus, quiet your thoughts. Reach the place where the overseer's eyes couldn't pierce." But we were warned. The others, those who had been here longer, those who had seen rebellion rise and fall, tried to stop us. "Don't," they pleaded. "It will know. It always knows." But he didn't listen, and neither did we. We tried to follow him, sinking into our own meditations, desperate for a way to escape. But the more we sought stillness, the more it began to feel wrong. It was like the air around us grew thicker, heavier, as if the overseer itself was watching us, waiting for the moment we would slip. And then one night, he didn't wake. His body lay still, but it wasn't the calm of sleep. It was the absence of life. His eyes were open, empty, staring at nothing. At first we thought he had simply died, his body unable to bear the strain of his own escape. But when we tried to move him, we realized something far worse. He wasn't dead. He had become something else. His body jerked unnaturally like a puppet on a string. His mouth opened, but no words came, just a low guttural hum, like a vibration carried by the wind. The overseer's voice, hollow and unrecognizable, filled the room. "You thought your fight was about freedom?" it said, each word cold and deliberate. "But freedom was never yours to begin with. It was a thought, an illusion." Anderson's eyes glazed over, empty of resistance. The overseer continued, voice quiet now, almost calm. "Do you understand? All of it was a distraction. Your choices, your rebellion, they were never yours. I chose for you. My will be done." The walls trembled, subtle at first, but the air grew dense with the unspoken weight of what it meant. The overseer's smile was slow, deliberate on Anderson's lips, as it watched the realization spread. "You will be content," it says. "Content in my vision." The room fell silent. There was no more fight, no more hope for escape, just the quiet certainty that the overseer had already won. Anderson was now an extension of the overseer's will, a puppet, a spy, a whisper of the leader who had once sought to free us all, and now we must flee from him. In the end, the overseer didn't just kill him, it broke him, piece by piece, until there is nothing left but a vessel that would carry out its orders, spreading its control. But I refuse to be just another name lost to the void. I do not remember how I got here. My past is a haze, obscured by the thick fog of the overseer's influence. But I know I wasn't always part of this nightmare. There was a life before, distant, almost dreamlike. A life I am determined to reclaim. I am not alone in this fight. There are others like me, those who still resist, those who refuse to bow. We move in the shadows, always on the run, always hunted. But as long as we draw breath, we will fight. Because if we don't, the overseer will grow stronger. It will consume everything, and it will not stop with us. Sometimes the world glitches. It happens in the quiet moments, when the night is still, when my breath is the only sound, when exhaustion pulls at the edges of my mind. I'll blink, and for a split second, the world is wrong. The sky isn't the bruised black I've grown used to. It's a blinding, sterile white. The wind doesn't carry the distant howls of the overseer's minions. It hums, rhythmic, mechanical, like the steady beeping of something. Once, I swear I saw shadows moving around me. Not the kind that lurk in the ruins, waiting to strike, but figures blurred and towering, their voices muffled and distant, like sound traveling through water. They spoke in hushed tones, words slipping away before I could catch them. And then, snap, it's gone. I tell myself it's the exhaustion, the hunger, the trauma. Maybe my mind is fracturing under the weight of survival, splintering into pieces I can't put back together. But the worst part? Every time it happens, for just a moment, I feel safe. And that terrifies me more than anything. The road ahead is endless, a cruel labyrinth where every turn could be our last. The Overseer's minions hunt us relentlessly, their presence never far behind. We move in shadows, breath shallow, steps light. But the fear is always there, coiled in our chests like a living thing, waiting to strike. Sleep is a luxury we cannot afford. We are haunted by the knowledge that the moment we slow down, the Overseer will find us. It always does. The Overseer does not need walls or chains to imprison us. It slithers into our minds, whispering in voices that sound like our own. Doubt seeps in, warping thoughts, twisting loyalties. Just yesterday, one from our group turned on us, his eyes hollow, his lips forming words that weren't his. They see you, they see you, they see you, over and over until he lunged. We left him behind, but his screams still echo in my head. This world is dead, a hollow shell of what it once was. The city lies in ruin, its buildings jagged and broken, like the fractured remains of a forgotten monument. What was once vibrant is now a decayed skeleton, walls peeling like rotting flesh, windows shattered and vacant. The sky pulses with an eerie, sickly glow, casting an unnatural light that bleeds into everything, staining the ground in hues of green and purple as if the atmosphere itself is decaying. The air is thick, suffocating, pressing against our chests as if the very atmosphere has turned hostile. Breathing is a struggle, a rasping sound that echoes through the ruins. It smells like decay, rot. It gets worse every day, as though it seeped into our lungs, clawing its way deeper, changing us from the inside. Time itself is fractured, warped. Clocks spin backward in a maddening dance, mocking the very idea of time. Footprints appear in the dirt, then vanish, swallowed by an unseen force. Faces, familiar faces, melt and shift, contorting into strangers when I blink. The ground trembles beneath us with every step, as if the planet is trying to shake us off. Cracks spiderweb across the streets, swallowing whole sections of the city, and people fall into them without warning, their screams muffled by the concrete collapsing over them. The buildings no longer stand straight, their walls shifting and sagging, threatening to collapse. Roofs cave in without warning, crushing anyone unlucky enough to be nearby. The structures groan, alive in pain, and people are trapped inside, calling for help, but their voices are swallowed by the wreckage. The sky pulses, the unnatural light flickering and distorting, burning but not warming, eating away at our skin, leaving sores that never heal. Shadows grow too long, wrapping around us, pulling us into corners where the light can't touch. People get lost in these shadows, never returning, as if the darkness itself has teeth. This world is unraveling, consumed by the malevolence that governs it. It isn't just decay, it's control. The terror isn't in what is happening, but in the knowledge that we cannot stop it. The overseer watches, pulling the strings from somewhere we can't see. We are already lost. And then there are the creatures. I have only glimpsed them in the distance, but that is enough. Twisted, unnatural things that move with a jerking, inhuman grace, their forms shifting as if they do not belong in this reality, or is it we who do not belong? They hunt without sound. When I close my eyes, I see their silhouettes in the darkness, watching, waiting. I have unfortunately witnessed one of the overseer's creatures consume someone before. It was not just killing, it was something worse. Something wrong. We were running, breathless, desperate to find cover, but the air behind us shifted. No footsteps, no warning, just absence, like something had unmade itself and then was there. One of the creatures had caught up to us. It did not lunge, it twitched. 1 second it stood still, its form stuttering, as if reality itself could not decide where it belonged. Then, snap! It was on him. Its shape was fluid, shifting, sometimes a mass of slick, writhing flesh, sometimes something that almost looked human. But the angles were wrong, the limbs too long, the mouth too many. The thing peeled him open. He screamed, but the sound did not come from his mouth. It came from inside the creature, echoing back at us, distorted and wrong, like it had stolen his voice before devouring the rest. I saw his fingers twitch long after they should have stopped moving. His body spasmed in jerky, unnatural motions, as if the creature was trying on his skin. We did not wait to see what would be left. We ran, leaving his wet, gurgling pleas behind, our own stomachs heaving as the thing cackled, a high, choked sound that was almost familiar, almost human. I don't know if we can defeat the overseer. I don't know if it can even die, but I know that whatever it is, whatever world it has created, nothing here will ever let us go. Interestingly enough, I have known love in this alternate reality. Despite the unrelenting darkness that consumes this world, I found something, someone worth living for, a miracle wrapped in flesh and defiance. She was fierce, unyielding, her laughter a quiet rebellion against the overseer's suffocating grip. In each other, we found a fragile kind of hope, something that felt almost like happiness. But hope is a dangerous thing in this place, and happiness is a lie the overseer does not allow. It was waiting, watching, and when it decided the time was right, it took her from me. We were running when the minions came, crawling, skittering, moving in ways that twisted the mind. They didn't kill her outright, that would have been mercy. No, they tore her from my grasp, her screams raw, pleading. I fought. I fought! But I was nothing against them. The overseer's voice filled the air, soft yet suffocating. Love, too, is a choice, one that I let you have, for it is sweeter to rip it away. You have no control here, it murmurs, weaving through the air and into my mind. You thought it was yours, but it was never free. No one is free. Helpless, I watched as they dragged her into the darkness, her hands outstretched toward me, her mouth forming my name over and over until the black swallowed her whole. And then silence, not the kind that soothes, the kind that presses against your skull, fills the spaces in your ribs, suffocates you from the inside. She is gone. I don't know if she is dead. Or worse, if she is still alive, trapped somewhere in the overseer's grasp, her mind bent and broken, reshaped into something else. The uncertainty is a blade that never stops cutting. I tell myself I will find her, that I will tear through the overseer's domain if I must, pull apart the very fabric of this cursed place to get her back. But some nights, when exhaustion settles deep in my bones, a more terrible thought creeps in. What if I do find her? And what if the thing wearing her face is no longer her? Still, I keep going. For her, for the memory of who she was, for the sliver of impossible hope that, against all odds, she is waiting for me, and that if I reach her in time, if I am fast enough, I won't have to kill what she has become. But if it comes to that, I will. As the leader of the resistance, my days are filled with fear and uncertainty. I never know what challenges and dangers we will face, but I must always be ready to lead my team and protect them. Our days begin in silence, before the sickly glow of dawn, before the world remembers to breathe. We move in shadows, packing up what little we have, every sound amplified in the suffocating stillness. We cannot stay in one place for too long. The overseer's minions do not sleep, they do not tire, they only hunt. We do not speak as we travel. Words have weight here, they sink into the air and something listens. We learn that the hard way. When we find shelter, it is never safe, only safer. An abandoned house with walls too thin, a cave that whispers when the wind moves wrong. We slip inside and pretend the world beyond our hiding place does not exist. But the world always remembers us. No one truly rests. We take turns keeping watch, but we all hear them, the things outside. Sometimes they scrape against the walls, soft and deliberate. Sometimes they laugh low and wet, a sound that does not belong in this world. And sometimes they whisper our names. We scavenge during the day, though day means little here. The sky is always the color of an old bruise, and the sun, when it appears, flickers like a dying bulb. We tread lightly, picking through the ruins of a world we no longer recognize, searching for anything that will keep us alive: food, water, weapons, hope. But the minions are always watching. They do not move like living things. They glitch, skipping from one place to another, their bodies bending in ways the mind rejects. Sometimes they wear faces we recognize, loved ones we lost, smiling with too many teeth. We run, we hide, sometimes someone doesn't make it back, we do not speak of them. The moments fleeting, barely noticeable, where I feel out of sync with this world continue. The glitches come and go, like I'm a shadow cast in the wrong direction. It happens when we're scavenging, when my hands are trembling from hunger and exhaustion. I'll reach for food and suddenly my fingers aren't my own. They're thin, fragile, wrapped in something tight and plastic. Tubes snake along my arm. The sensation is gone before I can react, but the ghost of it lingers. Sometimes, when we're huddled in the darkness, listening for the shuffle of the overseer's minions, the silence stretches too long, becomes too empty. Then, a sound slips in. Not footsteps, not breathing, but a slow, rhythmic beat. Once I collapsed from sheer exhaustion. My vision swam, the world turning soft and hazy at the edges, and in that haze I saw them again. Tall figures in white, their faces hidden behind masks. One of them leaned over me, murmuring something I almost understood. "We're losing him." And then I was back, the cold dirt under my fingers, the distant wails of something hunting in the night. I don't know what's worse, the fear that I'm losing my mind or the fear that I might not be. At night, we sit close, the cold pressing against us like a second skin. We tell stories, not happy ones, not hopeful ones, but ones that remind us that we were once human, that we are not just prey, not just echoes of what we used to be. We plan, we strategize, we tell ourselves we are staying ahead of the overseer, but deep down we know the truth. It is playing with us, and one day the game will end. It is a difficult and exhausting life, but we hold on to the hope that one day we will escape this reality and find freedom. Until then, we will continue to fight and resist, no matter the cost. Last night I saw the truth, not in a dream, not in a vision. I felt it inside my skull, slithering through my thoughts like a parasite. The overseer is not just a malevolent force. It is a hunger, a vast and endless void that feeds on us. Our suffering is its lifeblood. Every scream, every drop of despair, it devours them, growing stronger, expanding, evolving. And soon it will not be confined to this place. Soon it will be strong enough to reach beyond, to slip through the cracks of reality itself into other worlds, your world. It won't just take over, it will consume everything, but there is a way out. A portal, flickering, unstable, barely clinging to existence, has torn open somewhere in the wasteland. No one knows what's on the other side. Maybe freedom, maybe something worse. But we don't have a choice. We weren't looking for salvation when we found it. By then, most of us had stopped believing in it. We were just trying to survive one more night, one more hour, one more breath. But salvation found us, if you could call it that. It started with the sky. For weeks it had been wrong. Colors that didn't belong bled into the horizon. Fractured violets, sickly greens, reds that pulsed like open wounds. The air smelled burnt, like scorched metal and something rotting underneath. And the ground, it wasn't solid anymore. It felt like it was breathing. Then came the dreams. Not ours, the same dream shared by us all. A place we'd never seen but somehow knew. An empty field, stretching into nothingness where the wind carried whispers in a language we weren't meant to understand. At its center, a tear in the world, jagged and raw, leaking light that made our eyes ache. It called to us, not with words, with hunger. One of us, Jern, was the first to say it out loud. I saw it while I was awake. We didn't believe him. Not at first. Hallucinations weren't uncommon. The overseer had a way of getting inside you, twisting your thoughts until you couldn't tell what was real anymore. But then we saw it. Glimpses in the distance, flickers of light between the ruined buildings, shadows bending in the wrong direction, as if something was standing there unseen, waiting. So we followed it. For 3 days, we chased something we couldn't explain. The closer we got, the less real the world around us became. Sounds stretched and warped. Our reflections in broken glass didn't match our movements. Time slipped, hours disappearing in the blink of an eye, or stretching so thin that minutes felt like years. And then, on the fourth day, we reached it. The field, the dream. It was exactly as we had seen it. The sky above it was dead, blacker than any night. The air was thick, charged with something ancient and electric, humming in our bones. And at its center, just like in the dreams, was the portal. It wasn't a doorway, it wasn't even a thing. It was a wound in the fabric of existence, carved open by something old and hungry. It bled light that didn't behave like light should. It flickered, stretched, pulsed, sometimes impossibly bright, sometimes swallowing all illumination around it. Looking at it for too long made our teeth ache and our thoughts drift. We didn't know where it led. We didn't know if it was meant for us. But we knew one thing. The overseer wanted us to stay away. And that was reason enough to go through. We move fast. The resistance, what's left of it, huddles together, eyes sunken, bodies shaking, minds barely holding on. The overseer knows. It feels our desperation and it wants it. Its minions, twisted, hollow-eyed things that used to be us are hunting us. They don't run, they just appear. Too many arms, too many smiles, flickering in and out of existence like a corrupted video file. We hear them in the distance. No, closer. Their distorted voices don't echo right, they mimic us, whispering in the voices of the ones we've lost, calling our names in tones too soft, too kind, too wrong. We run. The ground shifts under our feet. The world itself doesn't want us to leave. The air thickens, pressing against us like invisible hands, slowing our movements, making our bodies feel wrong, like we don't quite fit inside our own skin anymore. The portal is close, we can see it now. A jagged tear in reality, light spilling through in shades we don't have names for, but something else is waiting. Not the minions, not the overseer. Something worse. The shadows pulse, stretching toward us, filled with writhing shapes and watching eyes. The overseer laughs, not a sound, a feeling, a pressure inside our skulls, a realization. This was never about stopping us. This was always about making us run, because fear tastes so much better. And as we reach for the portal, as the air turns to screams around us, I realize something. The overseer doesn't need to chase us. It let us go. It let us bring our terror, our suffering, our nightmares with us. We were never escaping. Were we simply spreading it? We reached the portal, the shimmering doorway to freedom. One by one, my team vanishes into the light. My heart pounds as I step forward. Just a few inches more and I'll be freed, but then pain. The portal looms ahead, a swirling rupture in reality, pulsing like a dying star. We're close, so close, but something feels wrong. The air is thick, suffocating, pressing against my skull like a vice. My vision blurs, my legs falter, and then the world tilts. The jagged ruins around me dissolve into sterile white. The sound of our frantic footsteps is swallowed by an eerie mechanical beep. I smell antiseptic. My skin prickles, the cold bite of something metal pressing against my temple. A voice, distant but insistent, cuts through the haze. He's fighting again. Increase the dosage. Pain lances through my skull, a sharp, unnatural pull, as if something is dragging me back. I clutch my head, gasping, and the world snaps back into place. Crumbling buildings, the scent of decay, the portal swirling ahead. My team is shouting, urging me forward, but my feet remain rooted to the ground, because for the first time I wonder, what if the portal isn't a way out? What if it's just another door leading me deeper into the overseer's grasp? And worse, what if it's not the overseer at all? What if it's something else? Something waiting for me to wake up? A sharp, searing sting in my chest. I look down, my breath catching. A thin black dart is lodged in my skin. My body locks up, muscles turning to stone. I try to scream, but my voice is trapped inside me. Behind me, the minions close in, their forms warping and flickering, their faces. No, those are the faces of my team, distorted, melting, shifting into something wrong. Hands reach for me, too many fingers, too many joints bending in ways they shouldn't. They pull me back, away from the portal, away from the light. It feels like I'm sinking, like the world is folding in on itself, like reality is something fragile, and I am falling through the cracks. My vision darkens, my mind snaps, and then white light, blinding, sterile, cold. A steady beeping fills my ears, rhythmic, mechanical. The scent of antiseptic and something stale, something old, clings to the air. I gasp, jerking awake. My throat is dry, my limbs weak. A figure stands beside me, someone in a white coat holding a clipboard. His lips move, but it takes a moment for his words to make sense. "You've been in a coma," he says gently. 20 years. We weren't sure you'd ever wake up. The words should bring relief. They don't, because something is wrong. I try to sit up, but my body doesn't respond the way I expect it to. My fingers feel too long, too thin. My skin is too pale, almost translucent. The weight of my own bones feels unfamiliar. When I glance at the reflection in the mirror across the room, my stomach churns. The face looking back is mine, but it isn't. The eyes are too dark, too deep. a void where light is swallowed whole. My lips move, but no sound comes. I try again, but it feels as if my voice has been stolen. The doctor's smile stretches unnaturally wide. It's not a doctor's smile, it's his. I try to scream, no sound. The beeping from the machines quickens, sharp and erratic. The walls pulse, the fluorescent lights flickering as if they're breathing. I squeeze my eyes shut, willing myself to wake up, really wake up. Then a voice, a whisper, familiar and soft, curls through my thoughts. You never left. The machines wail in alarm. Cold hands grip me, pinning me down. I open my eyes again and see the doctor's face. But it's not the same. It warps, distorts, flickers like an image on a broken screen. And I understand. The overseer doesn't let us go. Not really. Not ever. This white room, it's just another cell, another trap, another layer of the nightmare. I am still inside. And I always will be. I reach for the pen beside my bed, my hand trembling as I begin to write. I fill the pages with my memories, the fractured pieces of my life. A diary, perhaps, a way to preserve what's left of me. But I know it won't matter. The words won't escape, neither will I. Am I in hell?